Hello there, and this is my presentation of the Slottskogen Zoo, and you see a Jämtland goat here because I'm right outside the children's zoo. It's a completely free zoo. It's in the middle of the Slottskogen Park, which is in the middle of Gothenburg, so you can enter it from a lot of directions. There is no real gate to it. And I entered it, so I came immediately upon the children's zoo, which is a summer-only feature. The animals here are only here in the summer, and there are in other parts of the park during the rest of the year. And as you see, we started with the Jämtland goat. I'm right outside the gates because they were not yet open for the children's zoo part. The Jämtland goat is an old Swedish breed from the region of Jämtland, and this zoo has a lot of domestic animals, a lot of old regional breeds, and we will see more of that later. Here we see the goat, the buck, really wanting to greet the children, wondering why they're not coming in yet to the enclosure. There were a few minutes left until they opened, and I also spotted from the outside already another old breed, the Orust chicken, and Orust is an island in Västergötland. It's right outside Gothenburg, and this is a old chicken breed from that island. And why do zoos like this preserve all the breeds from all the regional breeds? Well, it's because they are well adapted to the environment, they are hardier, they don't really get sick that easy or get cold, but they also of course produce less milk, less meat, less eggs, less wool, and so on. So they are not really suitable for industrial agriculture. And here is a little kid. Yeah, goat kids are called kids. No, why? They just are. Here we have another Jämtland goat. And here we have rabbits. These are Gotland rabbits from the island of Gotland in Sweden. These are all Swedish breeds, of course. Swedish zoo, so Swedish breeds. Yes, I have a lot of footage from this children's part of the zoo. It was the first part. You always tend to film a lot really early on, and then you realize you have less battery left and can't film as much anymore. But yeah, there we have a rabbit hiding behind its little hut, and here we have more of the Orust chickens. So yes, I was talking about why preserving all breeds, all the regional breeds. Well, of course it's about the history. These were the breeds that were in the region in the past, but it's also that they are hardier, and this is why they are preserved. As the text here says, they are not that economically, but they are bred for the Nordic climate. They are bred to be able to handle it in ways that more economically viable breeds don't really, because they aren't really bred to be outside most of the day and so on. And here were the sheep. They were ill, they had some kind of illness, so you weren't allowed to touch them, which of course was terrible news for all children. But they are a Gotland sheep, which means they are also from the island of Gotland. There are quite a few unique breeds from that island. So as I said, this zoo is completely free. You don't have to pay anything. You just have to walk in the park and end up in the zoo section of the park. We will soon also see the rest of the park. This park has mostly domestic animals. They have a few wild animals, and we will see them too, of course. We are just leaving the children's zoo. Here is some footage of the goats, and then there was a place where kids could read ponies. There is a keeper preparing a pony for a kid. So, and these are human kids, not goat kids. I want both kids. Anyways, here are the ponies, and I think they are Gotlandras. I'm not sure, but they don't have any other horse species listed or breed listed, so I think they are Gotlandras. We'll see more Gotlandras later. So then, when I was leaving the children's zoo section, I got lost actually. First time I got lost more than one time actually, but here I am moving towards the next section, and I will here turn left, and that's actually the right direction to turn. The first time I walked here I actually didn't, and I ended up realized I ended up missing a lot of stuff when I, not a lot, but some important stuff when I didn't turn left here. So you should turn left here because you want to see the next animal, I guess. Yeah, you do want to see that. So left we go, and we continue, and they have other people too apparently walking left. But this zoo, as I said, has a few wild animals, and we will soon see one of them. This, well, you'll see when we come there. You'll see when we come there. I have opinions. So, yeah, here it comes. The arbor seal. This is a seal we don't have in Finland. It lives a little bit southern in the Baltic Sea and in the North Sea, in the Atlantic, in the Pacific. They have it in a lot of places. We just don't have it here. It's a smaller seal, so at first I was like, oh, this is a cute little pond for it. This is a nice pool, I guess. It's a cute little thing. Maybe the place for 2 or 3 seals here. Maybe the water is kind of deep and they can dive a lot. None of this is true. None of this is true. Here is a underwater watching station. This was completely useless. You couldn't see anything. This was like, why is it here when you can't see anything? There was some nice science and information about the seals. This is where I realized they have 5 seals too. I was like, 5? And then it started becoming a little bit more problematic. 5 seals in this little pond. I don't know. It's not the most terrible thing. I mean, they are not large seals, but I don't think the problem is actually the size of the pool. The pool isn't very deep. They don't have that much diving space. You'll see that the water is kind of shallow soon. But yeah, they had seals, and of course, when the water isn't that shallow, it's also very easy to see them. So that's a thing. You see them swim, and you see that the water is pretty shallow, not very deep, which means they don't get to dive that much, and that's really a shame. That's really what they need to figure out. If they're going to have 5 seals in there, they should have more space for them to dive. And I've come upon a pond, and the pond had mallards, because ponds have mallards. Wild mallards always find ponds, as you will see, because this will repeat itself soon. So here we come to a new enclosure, which is a pond, actually a pretty large pond. Very happy with this pond, large for the animals that are there. They actually, you'll see. But here we come up on the next pond, and the animal here is, well, it's not mallards, but there were mallards in the pond because mallards, they know prime real estate and they squat on prime real estate. That's what they do. They understand these things. Yes. But the actual star of this exhibit, the actual animal supposed to be here, is of course the Öland goose. This is our goose, a breed of domestic goose or geese from the island of Öland. So another domestic breed. They have a very large pool for themselves, which is also why the mallards are like, you don't need all this space. We'll take it. Anyway. Pretty chatty too. They honked a bit when I walked past. And here we have, of course, the mallards who happily swim in this pond. Mallards do what mallards do. I did see something though that made me worried about these particular mallards that I just saw there, just coming in the camera. Here you see a mother and her ducklings, but it's August. What happened here? Why are these ducklings so small? I'm very worried this won't survive because it's so late in the year to have these small, have chicks this small. We'll see. We won't see because I'm not in Gothenburg, can't see it, but this is not very promising for this family. Anyway, here are more goose or geese. Yes, always important with geese. So I was, as I said, somewhat disappointed with the seal pond. As I said, the water there could have been deeper, and you'll see because I will have a similar complaint about another thing very soon. So this little path you see here to your right, this is important because this path leads to part 2 of this video. And this was hard to find because there was no good signs that you should find this little path. But that path leads to part 2 of this video, just so you know. Anyway, moving forward towards the next part of this video though. As I told you just a while ago, the seal pond wasn't great. We'll see something else that isn't great very soon. But before that, you have to get there. There was some stretches there, you just have to walk down a pretty long path. This is a public park, it's just that zoo happens to be in it, so much of it is just because it's a public park. Here we come to the next buildings then. Okay, so what you see here is, you see a small pond for, well, you'll see, it's a small pond for domestic Swedish yellow ducks. We'll talk about that in a while, but there is another interesting thing in the next pond over there, and you'll soon see what it is. Yeah, I could smell it already from here. Once you have smelled penguin, you always know the smell of penguin. Nothing smells like penguin. These are Humboldt penguins. These are South American species of penguin. And they are from the coast of Chile and Peru. Anyway, I will get back to the penguins, because first I want to talk about the pond we just skipped over, because when you see penguins for free, you get excited about penguins for free. Anyway, Swedish yellow duck, a breed of domestic duck from Sweden. They are known for being yellow. Yes, that's it. Okay. Their pond is not that big. They might not need that much more. First I was like, why weren't they in the same pond as the goose or geese? Because there was enough space for them there, but then I realized the mallards are there, and that's probably the reason why they can't be there. You know, there is risks to those kind of things that you don't want to take. They do have an indoor space too. As you can see, here is a duck entering the indoor space right here. However, let's go back to the penguins. This little pond looks like a throwback to something from the 1980s, which this probably, I mean, it probably is from the 1980s or something like that. But like with the seal pond, it needs to be a little deeper, and they need more diving space. Otherwise, I don't think it's too small, the swimming space, but they need more to dive. Their space on land needs to be a little bigger too. They feel cramped where they are now. They need a little bit more space on land, and the water needs to be a little deeper, I think, because yeah, they do have some indoor space. They do have some indoor space too. Not terribly much, but they absolutely have indoor space. Which you can see here. This is their indoor space. This is a public indoor space. They definitely have some space behind the scenes too, which is good. I had hoped this whole building would be basically a penguin space, because I felt they could have needed that, but it's you'll see there is other habitats here. There is we are coming up on a rabbit habitat pretty soon. There was a habitat that was unused also for the moment, but here is the rabbit habitat. Well, it's this one. That one, first one was the one that wasn't used. It's the same type of rabbit that you saw before, the Gotland rabbit. This is probably where most of them actually are when the children's zoo is in the open during most of the year. And that would mean the empty habitat we just passed also usually probably is filled with rabbits. And then we come up to something more interesting though. The Eurasian harvest mouse. Such cute little mice. This is one of the smallest mouse species there are. And they are so cute little things. So cute. Watch them run around here. Of course, small animals like that tend to be keystone species in the ecosystem. They are food to quite a few larger species. So it's never good when they start to disappear. It is unfortunately a thing that has started to happen with the harvest mouse. It's very rare nowadays. And then we start to come towards the exit of this part of the video. Actually, we are for part 1 of Slottskogen Zoo. Yay! Actually, I have much more positive thing to say about part 2. Part 2 is going to be really awesome to make. But here we are ending part 1. Bye.